I mean, the bottom line is this. At this particular hour, if you believe the polling, Donald Trump's going to put up the best performance with black voters since Richard Nixon back in 1960. Not 68, since 1960. That's 64 years ago. Among Hispanic voters, Donald Trump's going to put up the best performance for Republicans since 2004 and George W. Bush.
I think his creation of, or his destruction of Roe v. Wade and the protections for abortion, the immigration reform bill that he did not embrace, rather he has chosen to become an absolute racist when it comes to speaking of particularly Latin undocumented immigrants, comparing them basically to animals. It's horrifying. I don't know how any Latino person of any self-esteem, any self-respect would be in favor of.
You may not know about it, Geraldo, but more Latinos are
poisoning the blood of the country.
More Latinos are voting for Donald Trump or polling for Donald Trump now than in 2016 and in 2020. He's on to something. I don't know how Democrats and Kamala Harris supporters think they are going to convince either black men who are leaving Kamala Harris or Latinos who are leaving Kamala Harris by saying, I don't know how you're in your right mind. Isn't it worth examining why these people are leaving Kamala Harris for Donald Trump rather than just telling them they're wrong?
Oh, I want to be very frank about the fact that I believe that the immigration system and the situation on the border represents the biggest failure of the Democratic administration, of the Biden-Harris administration.
All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media who are currently in full-blown panic mode over Kamala Harris's campaign losing momentum. And they have decided that they're going to go the Hillary Clinton 2016 route of insulting voters for rejecting Kamala Harris, right? It's going to be Trump derangement and telling the voters who do not want to vote for Kamala Harris that you're racist and you're bigoted, okay? This is what they're doing. They spent the last week basically attacking black men. You just saw at the beginning of this video, Geraldo, he basically is now attacking Latino men, Hispanic men, saying that I guess you're not a self-respecting Hispanic man or Latino man if you vote for Trump, which again is a very insulting thing to say. And now we have to talk about Joy Reid, who pretends to be a self-respecting black woman, but for whatever reason, she dyes her hair blonde as if she really wants to be a white woman, okay? And she is currently upset and mad about what's happening to Kamala Harris in the polls, to the point where she is pushing full-blown conspiracy theories on the MSNBC YouTube channel, because I can't call it a news channel, right? The YouTube network, MSNBC. She's claiming that white fascists are manipulating the polls. They're rigging the polls in order for Trump to win, right? So they're trying to rig the election in favor of Trump. That is what she's arguing. And that is the explanation for why Kamala Harris is losing momentum, according to her. Okay, this is a very, very, very clear example of copium and desperation and panic coming from the Democrats when Joy Reid is pushing these types of conspiracies, which is par for the course when it comes to Joy Reid's show. But this level of derangement is kind of pushing it to a new level, okay, even for somebody like Joy Reid. But that's where we're headed here going into this election. So let's get into it.
At this point, you can't call what Trump is running a campaign. As friend of the show David Corn points out in Mother Jones, what Trump and J.D. Vance and House and Senate Republicans are running is a massive disinformation campaign aimed at warping Americans' reality. And they're doing it with violent, terrifying, and sometimes bizarre conspiracy theories that set the table for maybe armed resistance to a Kamala Harris win.
You know what I found to be absolutely hilarious about this segment, right? And Democrats accusing Republicans and Trump of warping reality is that that's exactly what they're doing, okay? I mean, this is the same party that has warped reality for the past 3 to 4 years, right? These are the same people that told you inflation was transitory, the border is closed, that crime is not out of control, that everything is great, the economy is great, right? These are the same people that have basically tried to convince the American people that the things that they're feeling, the things that they're seeing, the things that they're witnessing with their own eyes, it's not true, right? This is the party of gaslighting. But yet Joy Reid is trying to accuse Republicans of warping reality when their whole party thrives off of warping reality. This is the same party that told us that Joe Biden mentally declining in public in front of the world to see was a cheap fake, right? What you're seeing is not real, okay? That's not Obama carrying Joe Biden off stage. No. That's not what's actually happening. That's not Joe Biden getting lost in meetings with world leaders where he's just wandering off into some random direction. No, you're not actually saying that. No, that's not what's happening. Okay, Joe Biden is not having senior moments during a press conference in which he seems to forget where he's at or what he's supposed to do or what he was saying. No. All of that is made up, right? That's not real, okay? This is the same media, right? The same outlet, MSNBC, Joy Reid's network, that said, if you don't believe that Joe Biden is the best that he's ever been, or this is the best Biden ever from a cognitive perspective, then F you, right? F you is what they said. But yet they point the finger at the other side and say, well, you're pushing out disinformation. You're campaigning on disinformation when, again, the whole Democrat Party, their whole platform is built on disinformation, right? Again, it's just funny how that works. Everything they accuse Trump of doing or Republicans of doing, that is what they're doing, right? This right here is projection. That's exactly what this rant is from Joy Reid.
Or mass acceptance of American fascism. Trump and Republicans, backed by far right-wing billionaires like Elon Musk and right-wing media and anti-woman manosphere podcasts, are creating social media or gaming social media apps like X Twitter in Trump's favor and pumping disinformation into the brains of Trump supporters. Not quite foreign interference, but not exactly different from what Vladimir Putin would do. And in many ways, the disinformation campaign is working. Base Republicans today believe everything from Democrats secretly manipulating the weather from a secret base in Alaska to Trump being incapable of losing this election. He's winning in a landslide. And some Democrats are starting to believe the disinformation too. Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? With these claims that Trump is surging with Black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Joy Reid. Your candidate, Kamala Harris, she's confirming that she's losing, right? Like, her actions are confirmation that she's losing. Now, I agree with Joy Reid in the sense that I don't believe the polls either. I think Trump is way up, okay, personally. I think he's winning by a lot more than what the polls are indicating. However, Kamala Harris has confirmed this because of the fact that she's doing more interviews, because of the fact that she's out here trying to desperately change what appears to be a declining campaign. You have Obama out here lecturing black men for not supporting Kamala Harris enough. So your own party is admitting that Kamala Harris is struggling, right? So it's not really just the polls. It's not like some conspiracy. Your own party and their actions are telling us, right? They're telling the American people that, yeah, Kamala's losing, okay?
Yes, this race will be far too close. Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among black and brown men, too. This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power.
So, yeah, basically, if you're white, right, you're a fascist, okay? And then if you're black and you're Latino and you agree with these white men, then you're also fascist as well, too. And you're sexist, okay? All this comes from women gaining power. So it's rooted in sexism, hate, and bigotry. This is the campaign strategy, guys. Listen to these people. They want to insult voters into voting for Kamala Harris. When you cannot pitch Kamala Harris based off her record or policy, this is what they resort to, right? Nothing but insults. Well, you're fascist. You must hate women, right? That's why this is happening, okay? No ability whatsoever to self-evaluate and to really understand why is it that people are gravitating towards Trump over Kamala Harris. None whatsoever. And this is why Kamala is taking, right? Because of people like Joy Reid. This is reality. This is why I just laugh at stuff like this. Like, this right here is like comedy, right? It's comedy.
But friend of the show, Simon Rosenberg, points out that just like in 2020 and 2022, dozens of right-wing polls have been dumped into the marketplace in the last few weeks, 12 in Pennsylvania alone. Those polls then swing the polling averages to the right, making Trump look strong and Kamala Harris look stalled. Now, there are lots of explanations for why you'd want to game the polls. Entrepreneurial Republican pollsters can certainly gain favor with Trump, who's apparently fuming about Vice President Harris's billion-dollar fundraising and positive press. And then there's the more sinister explanation that if Trump, Republican pollsters, and even jittery Democrats convince enough people that his victory is inevitable, how much easier would it be to claim that the election was stolen if he loses? And how much easier would it be to get his base to rise up and maybe even get violent the way they did when he lost the last time? How much easier would it be to get the Republican House Speaker or John Roberts and the right-wing Supreme Court conservatives to throw the election to Trump? These are the things we need to consider. Donald Trump is not running a normal election. He's talking America into damn near a civil war to terrify voters into supporting him. And if that doesn't work, he's laying the groundwork for insurrection 2.0.
Wow. Joy Reid just accused Trump of trying to terrify voters into voting for him, except that's exactly what Democrats and Joy Reid is literally doing in this segment for Kamala Harris, right? She's trying to terrify voters into supporting Kamala Harris. Again, these people, they project so much, right? Everything they say about Trump can be applied to themselves, right? So she's essentially accusing Trump of trying to start civil war because, I don't know, Trump is campaigning, right? I'm not entirely sure exactly where she's going with this, okay? But I think what her conspiracy is that there are white fascist right-wing pollsters that are essentially rigging the polls in favor of Trump, and Democrats are falling for it to create the perception that Trump is winning. So on election day, if Trump loses, then they'll say it was stolen and rigged, and Mike Johnson and the Supreme Court will try to overturn the election based off the fact that everybody thought that Trump would win based off the polls, except the polls are not showing that Trump is winning overwhelmingly. The polls are essentially a statistical tie. Now, do I believe the polls? No, I do not believe the polls, right? And I don't believe the polls because the polls have not proven to be reliable when it comes to measuring Trump's support, okay? In 2020, 2016, they severely underestimated Trump's support. The reason why people are saying that Trump is winning right now is because everybody knows that the polls aren't good at measuring Trump's support, and it's expected that he's going to overperform on election day. Now, will that actually happen? Will the polls get it right this time? I don't know. But if the polls get it right this time, he's still going to win, right? Because he's winning in all of the swing states, okay? So I'm just saying that's why people are saying what they're saying. And, you know, hey, maybe there could be some conspiracy to manipulate the polls. But if there is a conspiracy to manipulate the polls, then it's not coming from the right. Is actually coming from the left, because a vast majority of the pollsters are overwhelmingly liberal, okay? And a vast majority of these polls oversample Democrats, and they do that in order to manipulate people's minds into believing that Kamala Harris is so great and that the Democrats are going to win. Yeah, Joy Reid, again, is essentially accusing Trump and people on the right of doing everything that people on the left are actually doing, because that is the only explanation, in my opinion, for why is it that the polls continue to underestimate Trump's support. Why do they not have the ability to accurately measure Trump's support? Well, it's because they're probably being manipulated to show that Trump doesn't have as much support as he actually does in order to discourage people from going out and voting for Trump, thinking that, oh, well, he's going to lose. He's so far behind. He's probably not going to win, right? I think that is what's happening. And Joy Reid has the exact opposite theory in the sense that she's saying that the polls are being manipulated to make it look like Kamala is losing so that people don't support Kamala, think that she can't win, when there's no evidence to actually back up that claim. There's actually evidence to back up the claim that the polls are probably manipulated against Trump, considering how, again, they haven't shown the ability to accurately measure Trump's support. But regardless, my main point is this. This is all they got. You're a fascist. You're a bigot, Trump derangement. That's all they got. That's all they got. That's all Joy Reid got. If Kamala Harris was everything that these people claim that she is, okay, then they wouldn't spend all of their time fear-mongering about Trump. They'll be talking about how great she is, how great the economy is, the border being closed, right? Just how great the country is and all of the great things that she's done. But because they can't talk about that, this is what they do. I guarantee you, Joy Reid wouldn't be able to do one segment where she could sit down for an hour and just talk about how great Kamala Harris has been without talking about Trump, right? But I guarantee you, you could do a segment for 1 hour talking about all the great things that were accomplished by the Trump administration. Without mentioning Kamala Harris, without mentioning Democrats, you can talk about a lot of things. The economy being great, the border being more secure, peace on the world stage. You can talk about the Trump administration and all his accomplishments without mentioning Democrats or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris one time. But you can't say that about Kamala Harris. This is why all you see from the media is nothing but Trump derangement. They don't have anything positive to say about Kamala Harris at all, right? When you listen to these people, when they're asked about what's the difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, what do they say? Oh, well, she's not Trump, right? That's what they say. She's not Trump. Kamala can't stand on her own 2 feet without Trump derangement being a part of the selling point for her. And if that's what they're going to do, again, I just don't think that this is going to work out well for them. But hey, if they want to continue to use the Hillary Clinton 2016 strategy of insulting voters for refusing to vote for a woman, then hey, be my guest, right? Be my guest. Do what you got to do. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.